Hey everybody, so it's Matt Brown from the band Dead Parade in Matt Brown's Guitar Studio. Thank you for being so patient. We've finally made it to 7,000 subscribers, so here is Aero Zeppelin as promised. So like we always do, I'm going to go from the beginning and go through all the riffs, including the solo, and break them all down for you. So let's get started. So this song is tuned down a half step first off, and we're in the concert key of E flat, but I'll be referring to things like we're in standard tuning, so key of E. So let's start with the beginning riff. I will play it for you and then I will explain it. So the first chord that we're going to play is an E7, and it's got a sharp 11 to it, and it's omitting the third. So anyway, how this is played is you've got the low E, and my first finger is barring across the second fret of the 5th and 4th strings, and I've got 3rd fret notes on the 3rd and 2nd strings, and then I have an open E kind of hanging out up top. So what we're going to do is we have this, a quick down up strum on the 2 lowest notes, then we have this arpeggio. So that's 1, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3 as far as the strings go, and that alternates with a measure that sounds like this. So the arpeggio is different that time, just a little variation. A few words on tone: you want to keep all of these strings ringing together so they overlap. And also you want to have your gain on your clean channel cranked up pretty high. I have mine like 3/4 of the way all the way up. So you get this kind of a little bit of bite to the tone when you strum hard. Alright, so now let's talk about the first verse. Alright, so that's it. To explain what's going on, the intro riff, that 2-bar thing, is played once at the beginning, and then we have this one measure kind of thing with this chord that just repeats over and over for a while, and that sounds like this. So it's roughly like he's playing the 3rd and 2nd strings, then the 1st string, then back to those 2 strings, then playing them again, then the 1st string, then back to those 2 strings. So real slowly. And the rough number of strings that you hit, it doesn't have to be exact. As long as you have this rough idea and rhythm going through what he's singing for the rest of the verse, it's going to sound awesome. So the last 2 times though, he does this where he's singing like it's a brand, or the next time they'll be fans, I think they say. Alright, was what he says. So it's... And here, since it's sparse, you can get away with doing the... Or just... you don't have to do the thing at the beginning. It still sounds good if you just do the... Alright, so the second verse, what it does is it just uses that single measure riff over and over until we get to the sparse. And that happens instead of 2 times at the end, it's 4 times at the end of this one before we go on to the next riff. So let's check out that riff. Alright, so that's it. What we're doing is playing an E5 power chord at first and arpeggiating it. And then we're going to slide our first finger on the 5th string from 2 up to 5. And then every other measure is different. The second time we have this. So this is a little E minor blues scale lick. We're going 2, 1, 1, 3, 1, 3. So alternating between the 6th and the 5th string there. As far as the 3 and 1s go at the end. So together. Alright, and then we're going to throw on our distortion, and then the riff is played just slightly differently. We're not going to play that high octave E note on the 4th string, so let me show you that. So there's the difference there, just barely different. Alright, then we're to my favorite riff of the whole song and maybe my favorite Nirvana riff of all time. Let's check that out. Alright, I'm going to stop it right there because it changes to a variation. So what I'm going to do is break this down slowly for you, play it slowly, then explain it. Alright, so what we're doing, we have an A5 power chord, 3 strings, 5, 7, 7, sliding up, and then, strumming a few more times on the B5. So sliding up to B5, that's beat 1. Okay, beat 2, we're sliding back. So we're sliding B5 to A, muted note, and then D5. So far. Alright, let's put the first measure together then. We just have a few more D5 strums and then an E5. And then we're sliding down out of that E5 chord to get to our next part, which is this little chromatic thing where we're sliding down just like these little triadic shapes. So we have so there's an open E string in between each little triad shape. So 3, 4, open, 2, 3, open, 1, 2, open, and then we're gonna bend the first fret. After this, you might notice that when he bends this low string, there's like a little pull off that goes to the open E string before he starts the riff again. And I'm not 100% sure if that was intentional or just something that just kind of happens as you're shifting your hand back to start the riff again. So just something to think of and be aware of as you play this. Alright, let's check out the variation that happens next. Alright, so what's happening here is after the first little figure, 3, 0, open, what we're doing is a hammer-on instead of doing the 2 and then the 3 on the low string. The rest of the measure is the same. The next measure, we're going to put the variation on the first fret little parts. So this is the same. And then what we're doing is this. So it's just 1, 2, hammer on your 5th string. And then the little bend and, the pull off if you want to do that or not. So slowly, these 2 bars of the variation, and then they just repeat into the next riff. Here's how they go. Alright, let's check out the next riff. Alright, so this we're playing out of it's kind of a weird scale choice. He's using like an E major 7th arpeggio, but with the flat 5 note thrown in there too to give it some ugliness. So real slowly we have the low E, and then you're going to play the first fret of the 5th string. There's your ugly note. And then we're going to do 2 4th fret notes on the 6th string. And we're going to do little tiny quarter step bends. 2 open E notes, and then 4, 1 on your 4th string. So I'll just play it. Try to slowly, again slow. Alright, the variation riff, that is, basically every other measure, sounds like this. So same thing, except for at the end we have this. We're going to bar across the 4th and 3rd strings, play that, 2nd fret on your 5th string, and then back to that double stop. So Alright, now we're to, I guess, a new type of verse. This is the one where he starts kind of screaming, and it's really cool. Alright, so measure one, we're going to go through this kind of like measure by measure. We have an E5, 3 strings here, and then we're going to play a B flat 2 times in 8th notes at the end of the measure, 3 strings, 1 through 3, first frets. Next measure, back to the E5, and then we're doing 2 fast G5s at the end of that one, 3, 5, 5. Then the first measure repeats, and then we've got... So I guess he's playing the E5 twice in that measure. 1, 2, 3, 4 E. Alright, and then we're to the 5th measure. It's the same as the first. Then we're going to have this measure again. And then back to the first measure. And then we have our transitional measure that's going to take us to the super sweet riff. So this sounds like this. So what we have is E5, and then we're doing G5, B flat 5 up here at 6, 8, 8, and then playing the open string. Alright, then we're back to the, that riff. Alright, let's move on. We pretty much just have a bunch of repeated material until we hit the guitar solo. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the solo at full speed, then at like 3/4 speed, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about, some of the theory and what's happening here. So as far as what the bass is playing, the bass is just doing this kind of simple groove that's like giving this E tritone or E and the flat 5, B flat in there. So it's a pretty ambiguous kind of riff that you're jamming over. So kind of with the rule with this sort of thing is like you can play any of the notes from E major or E minor too, as long as you're using them in a context of a phrase that makes sense. So, you can't just blend all the notes together like without any rhyme or reason. There has to be some sort of, sense to it within an individual phrase. So that's what, you should think about. So he's playing some C notes, some C sharps, some regular Gs, some G sharps, So it just depends on the phrase. He's not really making like any bluesy type phrases where he's blending like minor and major scales. It's either one or the other typically here. Some other things that you're going to hear, just like typical Kurt Cobain tricks, are like really high bends that sound kind of out of tune, like right off the bat to start. That kind of stuff. He's just really jerking on the strings. Some really low bends. Like in every Nirvana solo, you're going to hear that kind of thing. There's always this kind of like either like going up on a single string or going down on a single string. Another one of his tricks. you know, that kind of thing. It's in Serve the Servants, but going backwards. Same thing with Sappy, going the other way. You know, just one of his melodic things that he uses when jamming a lot. Fast triplets, you know, kind of one of his things that he likes to do. The other thing at the end, doing this thing where you know, get this like really nasty kind of Stevie Ray Vaughan bend thing. That is done by, you're bending the 10th fret, but what you're doing is you're bending of the 2nd string a full step and the 3rd string only a half step. So it's like this weird thing where you're grabbing both strings with one finger and just letting it fall down like that. So that technique's, it's in Bloom, that solo, Blue, the solo for that one too. You know, pretty much any of the ones where he's jamming a lot. It's something he likes to throw in. So anyway, I hope all of that theory information helps you. The outro to the song just closes with the intro. The first 2 bars just repeated. You've got a little retard at the end. That leads the song out. But that is it for Aero Zeppelin. So thanks a lot for being patient again and waiting on this one. At 9,000 subscribers, I'm going to do Hairspray Queen, the other one I haven't done from this album. So if you're not subscribed already, please make sure you hit that subscribe button. And I'll see you all around for lots more lessons. Hit me up if you guys want the tabs for this one. Alright, take care.